Trigger warning, weapons, guns and knives, mentions of blood, mentions of injuries, angst. Chapter 12, blood on your hands. Falling in love is easy. Getting over it is not. Did ya see that, Samu? Did ya? I sliced through that scum like butter. I'm tellin' ya, I'm the best damn assassin Inarizuki's ever seen, Atsumu boasted, his chest puffed out with exaggerated pride. His katana gleamed in the low light of a street lamp, the long blade polished to perfection, while Osamu's knife, serrated and deadly, glinted in the shadows. With the adrenaline still coursing through his veins from their recent mission, Atsumu leaned against the wall, crossing his arms in front of his chest, and grinning smugly at his brother. Osamu rolled his eyes, a scoff escaping his lips as he sheathed his knife. Oh please, Atsumu, keep your ego in check. We both know I took down more targets than you did. Wah, the hell you did? Atsumu flailed with his arms, pointed at the bodies around them, and flashed his brother a pissed off smile. The count is 16-13 and I recall Suna taking one out for you, so yeah, practically at 12. Nah. Osamu tilted his head and pointed at a pile of corpses behind them with a simple mocking nod. Took them out while you were busy stumbling. Add them to your stupid count and we're at 16-18. Atsumu's grin faltered, then he gaped at them, wondering when the hell Osamu finished them off. When you tripped, you idiot. And sometimes he seriously hates that cocky bastard. Not really. Especially when he puts on that stupid grin. So, Atsumu's mouth snapped shut, a faint red sprouting in his cheeks. That was just a tactical stumble. Osamu shot him a dry look. Tactical stumble? More like a tactical embarrassment. Shut up, grumbled Atsumu. At least I wasn't blushing like some coy schoolgirl just cause my not a crush was watching us from afar. Now Osamu's face flushed a deep shade of red, his embarrassment evident even in the dim light. He reached out and smacked Atsumu on the back of his head, his voice low and threatening. Shut your trap, Atsumu. But that just had Atsumu grinning like a cat that got the cream. He rubbed the back of his head mockingly as they exchanged a brief, knowing glance, a silent dare standing between them. Osamu's feelings for Suna were obvious, though he hadn't outright stated them. And Atsumu, well, he could read between the lines with the finesse of a seasoned assassin. Oh, Samu. Atsumu thought. We all know you have the hots for him. Whatever, Osamu would answer. He avoided his brother's gaze. It's not like it matters. It was summer and it was hot. The heat made it impossible to catch even the slightest wink of sleep. Atsumu kicked the covers off his bed and spread himself all over the mattress, absorbing the coolness of the sheets beneath him. It took only a minute, however, before everything underneath him was as hot as the rest of his body. A cool drink will help, Atsumu mused, swinging his feet to the floor. No idea what time it was. Probably early in the morning, since dawn could hardly wait to break, and the sun was already in its wings to fill the sky with a blaze of pinks and reds. He crept to the door, opened it silently, and then he stilled. Because standing in the twins' kitchen, stripped down to nothing but his boxers, was none other than Suna Rintaro, displaying the scars of countless fights on his otherwise perfectly shaped body. He flexed his biceps as he filled a water bottle in his hand, showing off his part of the matching yin and yang fox tattoo he got a few weeks ago together with Osamu. Cause we're best friends. But no, in fact, they're idiots and Atsumu hates them affectionately. Suna tilted his head back and stared at Atsumu quite unfazed, but Atsumu could clearly see the glint in his green-yellowish eyes. Yo, he said, turning his attention back to the water bottle, and Atsumu was a bit stunned. Are they? Gotta make sure your brother stays hydrated, he said with a wink as he walked past him toward Osamu's room, and Atsumu grimaced in disgust. Okay, yup. Too much information that he never wanted to know. What's going on between you and Sunarin? Are you two? Atsumu flailed with his hand and raised an eyebrow. Are you two a thing? He leaned against the wall and smirked at his brother, mischief dancing in his eyes. Osamu's brows furrowed, irritation flickering across his face. No, right double quotation mark. Atsumu chuckled, not believing his shit. Oh, come on now. I've seen how you look at him. And the way you two are always together. Osamu's annoyance intensified, his lips pressing into a thin line. It's called friendship, you know? Yeah, friendship my ass. Sure. With a wink and a laugh, Atsumu pushed away from the wall, the teasing still evident in his voice. Just remember, I'll be the first to say told you so if things change. Rolling his eyes, Osamu huffed. Fuck off. That only made Atsumu laugh more. It was winter and it was cold when Suna almost bled to death on the twins' couch. It was a simple job. He had to kill 3 people from a meaningless yakuza who thought they could claim Hyogo for themselves. Those idiots. It was truly not difficult, and Suna finished in record time. But what he didn't expect was this. The 2 bounty hunters from Haruichi who wanted to kill him for something Suna had done in his time before coming to Inarizuki. They ambushed him. He was inattentive for 1 second too long, and they gratefully took that chance. He managed to take them down anyway, because, well, after all, that was Suna. But the wounds were deep, and the way back home was too far. So, as he knocked at the twins' door, leaning against the doorframe, and supporting himself beneath his rib, it wasn't long before the lights in his body went out and, as luck would have it, he passed out right into Osamu's arms as he opened the door. They called Kita and Aaron. And just for good measure, and because Kita urged them to, an ambulance, to, Samu, Suna said with a mischievous yet apologetic smile as he lay on a new couch because the stains from the old one were impossible to remove. I'll pay for it. You better, Osamu replied as he sat beside him nursing him back to health. The things you do to be pampered like this, Rin quipped, but Osamu didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned down and kissed Suna tenderly on his lips, and it was then that Atsumu thought. Told you so. It wasn't the first accident in which Rin acquired new scars, but it was the first one in which he almost paid with his life. The first that set Osamu's doubts about their being in stone. Ah, Atsumu understood, so that's why you wanna stop. Did you already ask Rin to join us in Osaka? Osamu's expression shifted to something slightly guilty. Haven't found the right time yet. Atsumu released a playful scoff. Coward. Seijo, huh? Atsumu raised an eyebrow as Kita brought him another whiskey. I'd rather have Osamu accompany you. Atsumu grinned smugly and stared at the glass in his grip. What? Don't you trust me to do this on my own? Kita? Atsumu's voice died down when he met Kita's gaze, a sweet red coloring his cheeks. I mean, sure, I'll ask him. Don't think he wants to go, though. It was becoming the norm. Atsumu had been taking on more and more contracts on his own, while Osamu doubled up on shifts at the restaurant of Omimi's aunt. It was really just a part-time job, a way to pass the time when he was tired of doing missions. But no one could handle knives like Atsumu's brother did. No one had a passion for food like Osamu. Atsumu was sure he had that from their mother. I can talk to him if you want. Nah, he waves Kita off. It's fine, I'll do it. Of course, Osamu would tag along. That man has probably suffered several heart attacks in the last few weeks with his brother biting off more than he could chew. To increase my skills, Atsumu had said and earned himself a smack on the back of his head. Yeah, getting reckless, you prick. Osamu could see his brother slacking off and it made him nervous. Not that this comes across wrong, he knows his brother is currently probably the best in Inarizaki. But being strong doesn't guarantee him victory. Being strong means attracting even stronger opponents. He has seen it. Rin, his mother, he doesn't want to witness it with Atsumu too. Death would catch up with them faster than they had planned if they continued like this. Osamu knew it. And you checked everything. Atsumu was just making conversation. He already knew the answer. Kita would never send his people blind on any marks. He polished a glass. As far as I was able to, yeah. And this. Komori and his partner are actually so strong that it requires me and Samu. I mean, come on, Kita-san. Atsumu chuckled a little frustrated. There are only 2 of them and you're sending me. I can take them out easy peasy, is no big deal. According to the client, they could easily keep up with our strongest assassins. Kita gave Atsumu a pointed look which made him, apart from the alcohol in his blood, blush a bit more. He knew Kita meant him, among others, of course. But getting that acknowledgement from the man that is some sort of god to Atsumu, he's not. Shut the fuck up, Samu. Somehow sparked a warm feeling in Atsumu's chest. Then he frowned because what did he mean by they could easily keep up with our strongest assassins? There was no way anyone would be able to keep up with Atsumu. Where did the order come from again? Tokyo. Why do they want M removed anyway? Kita's gaze didn't leave Atsumu. Cause the Mark and his partner seem to be heading to Ikoa to join him. If that happens, it could cause a shift in power. An imbalance of the 3 big Yakuza, which could bring more chaos than we can imagine right now. Huh, snorted Atsumu. And well, something was weird. His eyes followed the movements of his finger, sliding over the rim of the whiskey glass. Then his gaze snapped up. What if it's not true? What if that guy just wants to scheme something against Ikoa? That's none of our business. Ah yes. Right. Let the bastards weed each other out. Every loss of the Yakuza is a win for everyone else. Atsumu downed the rest of his liquor. Not gonna lie, Kita-san, I don't want Samu to go. Someone as good as he was. Someone who would throw off the balance. Someone who could easily blow his brains out. That could end badly. But I won't keep this from him either. It's up to him to decide. Kita nodded, understanding. That client, Atsumu added playfully, he better pay well. Kita raised one eyebrow. That means you accept the job? Atsumu grinned as he stood up. Gotta prove no one's as strong as me, don't I? He wished he hadn't been so foolish. Atsumu knew Osamu and Suna were spending the night together. He was lying in his room when Osamu finally decided to ask Suna if he would join them in leaving Inarizaki and starting over in Osaka. But what happened next was a fight. They were arguing but Atsumu couldn't hear what they were saying. Then the sound of the door slammed shut. And tears. Atsumu didn't want Osamu to come along. But Osamu didn't want to let Atsumu leave on his own. He probably would have asked Rin to accompany his brother, but well, Osamu preferred not to talk to Rin these days. Get your shit together, grumbled Atsumu, who was fed up with both Osamu's and Suna's behavior. You love each other, he thought, and knew Osamu would draw his knife through his throat if he said it out loud. Instead, he shut up before his brother had the chance to explode. Because he was already pissed off that Atsumu traded his katana for a shotgun at some stupid gun dealer in Osaka. As if they needed to. As if their own weapons weren't enough. Disrespecting their whole being. And yeah, the twins wouldn't be twins if they didn't immediately sense how the other felt. So, Atsumu knew Osamu's nerves were on edge, and just because he was his twin, Atsumu, of course, felt the same way. But you can only bottle up so much before the dam breaks and the emotions swamp you. They are unfocused. Both of them. So, the two argued when they were in the middle of their mission in Cijou. Atsumu was upset because his brother let himself be dragged down so much by just one person, namely Suna Shitero. Rin wasn't worth it. When everything went south, Osamu still had his brother after all, so why sulk over some stupid, foolish ass? And Osamu was annoyed by Rin, was annoyed by his own feelings, was annoyed by Atsumu, who always said he was there for him and then disappeared on some dumb missions to prove how strong he was, just to return with several new injuries, fueling Osamu's fear. Reckless. There were more than just two people they had to fight that night. People who detested assassins like them and attacked them out of the blue. Their surroundings were shrouded in mist, tightly and heavily packed in the white veil of unease when Atsumu felt the gaze of a killer on his back. He turned around and Myosis pupils stared directly into his own dilated ones. And then he pushed Osamu behind himself and fired, not knowing if he had hit his target or not. Atsumu. At the exact same moment, a grazing shot and something else. Atsumu. And blood. So much blood. Atsumu. Hey. He was dragged somewhere. Don't you fucking pass out on me now. Black. Dash. Dash. Everything hurt when Atsumu woke up. He looked down at his body and found that he was patched up. He also felt eyes on him, felt someone watching him, but he couldn't tell where it was coming from. When Atsumu regained consciousness, he lay against a wall in a side alley in Cijou, and Osamu, well, Osamu was gone. Dash. Dash. I found Osamu. Atsumu gulps. His heart beats hard, beats fast. It's drumming in his ears, pounding in his throat, dropping into the pit of his stomach where it twirls and twists, causing his nausea to come back in full force. Did he get Suna right? You did. He's here, Atsumu. I found him. Where? Atsumu's voice comes sharp. Kiyumi's attention is entirely on Atsumu now, his gaze unwavering as he listens to the conversation. A silent exchange passes between them when their eyes lock. Glimmers of gold carry traces of concern, while Kiyumi's dark orbs mirror a deep well of bewilderment. He's in Nagano, in a huge mansion. It's heavily guarded, and there are too many people sneaking around, Suna explains, his voice tense. I can't get him out of there on my own. It's a massive property, he sighs, and the frustration is evident. Atsumu, we need a plan. Nagano. Atsumu gulps. Yeah. I guess that's on Terashima's head. One of his men didn't notice me when they were talking about Samu and mentioned that he's in Jizenji. Took me a while to figure it out, but apparently, that used to be Terashima's home. Of course, it is, mutters Atsumu under his breath. The grip on his phone tightens. The dizziness is returning. Before Atsumu even has a chance to ask, Rin answers the question that has been buzzing around in his head the whole time. I saw him, Atsumu. He's alive. Not in his best condition, but alive. Atsumu exhales shakily, leans back, and runs his uninjured hand through his hair, gripping the blonde roots tightly and biting his lower lip. 2 years. He's been looking for his brother for 2 fucking years, and finally, he has a chance to get him back. They are so close. Don't take your eyes off him, Rin. Who do you think I am? I'll come as soon as I can. Send me your location? Yeah. Suna takes a deep breath. I'll inform Kita too. Okay. Atsumu whispers after a moment's hesitation. His mind races, adrenaline is pumping through his veins. He glances at Kiyumi, who has already caught on to the situation. Atsumu nods to Suna even though he can't see him. If Kita-san's gonna want to send help, refuse. He'd make an Arizaki unnecessarily vulnerable. But we do need help, Atsumu. I tell you, the two of us can't handle this alone. We're not alone. Atsumu stares resolutely into Kiyumi's eyes. We have Ikoa and his men. And for another heartbeat, it's silent. Atsumu knows Suna isn't exactly thrilled with this idea. He knows Suna doesn't think much of Yakuza. Not that any of Inarizaki's assassins do. So, he's not particularly surprised when Suna mutters, you can't be serious. We're not gonna argue about this right now, alright? Atsumu. No. Right double quotation mark. Atsumu frowns. The grip on his phone tightens again. Just, stay put, and don't do anything stupid. I'm on my way and we'll figure something out, okay? He can almost feel Suna's reluctance through the phone, his hesitation, and concern for their safety. But Atsumu doesn't have time to ease those worries now. Osamu is within reach, and he'll do whatever it takes to bring his brother back home. If they harm him, then you don't act the way I would. Atsumu presses his fingers against his temples in an attempt to alleviate the constant spin in his head. He needs to get his brother back by yesterday. We're so close. Rin, don't let this be in vain. I need you to save him from there, alright? I can't do this alone, and neither can you. And at the silence on the other end of the line, Atsumu no sooner agrees with him. If they let their emotions get the best of them now, they'll jeopardize successfully freeing Osamu. They can't risk that. Suna's reply is a simple yet weighted alright. It's a reluctant agreement, carrying both understanding and apprehension. He assures Atsumu that he'll send the location and keep him updated if anything arises, that he won't mess up, and that he'll wait until Atsumu gets there. Atsumu knows he can trust him. He knows Rin won't risk freeing his brother. As the call ends, Atsumu contemplates his next steps, a surge of urgency pushing him to act immediately. However, his intentions are met with an unexpected obstacle. As he starts to move, attempting to climb out of bed, Kayumi's touch holds him. With an arched eyebrow and a questioning expression, he intervenes, his voice holding a note of concern. And where do you think you're going? Atsumu meets Kayumi's gaze, his determination warring with the reality of his injuries. He's reminded of the extent of his wounds and the toll they've taken on his body. The aftermath of the poison still lingers in his veins, and his muscles protest any movement that could worsen the damage. I need to get to Samu, Atsumu responds, his voice edged with urgency. It remains a driving force within him, but Kayumi's steady gaze brings a measure of clarity. You're not in any condition to charge into a potentially dangerous situation. You need to recover first. And have him snatched from under my nose? Absolutely not. Atsumu. Kayumi's expression is serious. Worried. Didn't you just tell Suna not to rush into it? How about listening to your own advice for once? I told him not to act the way I would. Me acting the way I would is a given. And risk Suna having to save the two of you by himself. Kayumi frowns. He can't do this alone, and neither can you. Suna needs you just as much as you need him, and he needs you in your best condition. He needs you to be able to fight. Kayumi's gaze shifts to Atsumu's bandaged hand, then back to his eyes. He doesn't need you like that. And for a moment, Atsumu hates that Sakusa paid attention to his call. He uses his own words against him. Atsumu knows it makes no sense to head to Nagano in his current state. Worst case is that he'll never even get there. But he needs to save his brother. He's all that matters right now. Atsumu's frustration battles with his realization of the truth in Kayumi's words. His body is far from capable, and rushing in without proper healing would only compromise the mission and put both him and Osamu at greater risk. A frustrated sigh escapes him, and he eases back against the pillows, conceding to the wisdom in Kayumi's advice. He should wait until at least the poison is cleared from his body. God, he hates this. He's right there, Omi. I can't just sit here and do nothing. Atsumu murmurs, his gaze dropping to his injured hand, curling each of his fingers into a fist before relaxing them again. The pain pulses through him. The spin in his head keeps fucking up his balance. All of this is a constant reminder of his failing. Kayumi's hand reaches out, his fingers brushing against Atsumu's cheek, and it startles him at first before it makes him calm down. His touch is gentle yet firm. Atsumu's eyes are wide open. I know how badly you want to save him. But you won't be much help if you worsen your injuries. And yes, Atsumu knows. You're still part of this fight, okay? Just give yourself the time you need to heal. The care in Kayumi's voice soothes some of Atsumu's restlessness. It's a reminder that he's not alone in this, that he has someone who understands and supports him, even when he shouldn't give a shit. Atsumu nods, a mixture of gratitude and frustration swirling within him. I just wanna get him back. You will. His heart beats fast and hard, the rhythm echoing the rush of emotions coursing through his veins. Atsumu finds himself completely captivated by Kayumi's presence, every facet of the man before him seemingly illuminated by an inner light. The way Kayumi's dark orbs hold equal parts of concern and care sends a shiver down Atsumu's spine, his breath catching as he takes in every detail of the person who's become an anchor in his chaotic life. It's so wrong. As Kayumi's thumb brushes gently against Atsumu's cheek, the touch both soothing and grounding, Atsumu feels a warmth spreading through him. It's not just the physical connection, but the weight of Kayumi's understanding and support that makes his heart race even faster. He's at a loss for words, a rare occurrence for someone as quick-witted as Atsumu. Kayumi's gaze remains unwavering as if he's peering into Atsumu's very soul, seeing the layers and vulnerabilities that he often hides from the world. Atsumu finds himself lost in the depths of Kayumi's eyes. He's aware of the blush creeping onto his cheeks, the telltale sign of his racing heart, and yet, he can't tear his gaze away. Atsumu's chest tightens with a mix of emotions, gratitude, admiration, an inexplicable fondness that he's only beginning to comprehend. And at that moment, the intensity of his feelings overwhelms him and causes him to suck in a sharp breath, breaking his gaze from Kayumi's intense eyes. His mind races, conflicting thoughts colliding with the reality of their current situation. They are enemies, their histories entwined in a complex web of secrets Atsumu is never willing to tell. Kayumi is still in the dark about the extent of Atsumu's actions, and guilt threatens to swallow him whole. He shouldn't feel this way. Not about Kayumi, not about someone who represents everything he's fought against. Atsumu's heart pounds in his chest as he grapples with the depth of his emotions, the internal struggle waging war against his desire. He frowns as he realizes Kyumi is someone who's managed to stir his heart in ways he never expected. His thoughts are shattered, though, when Kyumi, defying the boundaries of their roles and the weight of their pasts, leans in. The world around Atsumu blurs as Kyumi's lips draw nearer, and before he can fully comprehend what's happening, their lips meet. Atsumu's eyes flutter shut, his heart racing in his chest, and his breath catches in his throat. The sensation is both electrifying and tender, a collision of contradictions leaving Atsumu feeling dizzy and intoxicated. Kyumi's touch is gentle yet consuming, and Atsumu allows himself to be swept away by the moment. His mind, usually sharp and analytical, is silenced by the sheer intensity of Kyumi's touch. Guilt still gnaws at the edges of Atsumu's consciousness, but for this fleeting instant, for this very moment, he lets himself get lost in the man he was never supposed to like. The kiss resembles the complexity of their situation, the unspoken words and shared experiences that have brought them to this precipice. As the kiss deepens, Atsumu swears he can feel Kyumi's heartbeat against his own chest, their breaths mingling in a symphony of shared desires. It's a moment suspended in time, a stolen fragment of respite amidst the chaos that surrounds them. And then, as their mouths part, Kyumi's voice brushes against Atsumu's lips in a murmur, sending shivers down his spine. Let's focus on getting you back to full strength first. The words are a gentle reminder, a promise that their priorities haven't shifted, despite the intensity of whatever is going on right now. Atsumu's heart outraces time itself as Kyumi's proximity continues to envelop him. The tenderness in his words resonates deeply, soothing the storm of feelings within Atsumu even as it ignites a new flame of longing. Oh, Kyumi. Okay, whispers Atsumu, because he can't bring himself to say anything else. His heart stumbles for a good moment, mesmerized by everything Kyumi embodies. What are you doing to me? We'll figure out a plan, Kyumi says then, his voice a soothing balm to Atsumu's soul. Together, we'll think of something to save your brother. Atsumu's gaze snaps up, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. Will Kyumi accompany him? His stomach is churning. This will be the time when they'll have to part ways because Atsumu will return to Inarizaki with his brother while Kyumi will remain in Sendai. He can't allow Osamu to see them together. He would immediately notice what's going on. So, does Atsumu really want Kyumi to come along when all he really longs for is never letting him go? Atsumu averts his eyes and frowns, but Kyumi smooths it out as he gently strokes his thumb over Atsumu's bottom lip. And again, heat shoots into Atsumu's face. Again, his cheeks turn red. Again, Kyumi makes Atsumu's heart stumble. I won't leave you tonight, okay? He smirks slightly. Unless you want me to. No, Atsumu protests and nudges Kyumi's nose. Don't leave, he whispers then, brushing his lips against Kyumi's. Okay, Kyumi whispers back, eyes shifting between Atsumu's golden ones, stealing a glance at his plump lips. And then he cups Atsumu's face, digs his fingers into blonde waves, and kisses him again for all he's worth. Slowly and tenderly. Soft and gentle, pushing him back against the pillows and carrying on until Atsumu gets drunk on it. You'll be fine, murmurs Kyumi, and oh, Atsumu wants to believe him so badly. As he lies in Kyumi's arms, feeling his heartbeat and nestling into his strong body, Atsumu wonders what he did to deserve this. Kyumi kisses Atsumu's forehead. Atsumu nuzzles against his chest. And he wonders if there is anything he can do to keep them from parting ways. The night with Kyumi wouldn't leave his mind. Atsumu is on the train to Nagano, to Josenji, after Akashi has checked up on him one last time in the morning. 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒔 tagged along to cheer Atsumu up, apologizing for not realizing how bad things really were for him. Atsumu had waved it off. He was the one who sent 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅 away, no need to feel guilty. Atsumu sighs and leans back into the seat, staring out the window as the train passes through one landscape after another. His head still throbs, and his bones still ache, but at least he has his balance back and can finally move without face planting directly onto the street. And now, he can't stop thinking about last night. It's the first time they met up without having sex. Of course, Atsumu has been in no condition to do anything, but Kyumi seemed more concerned than put off. Where other casual lovers would have maybe called a doctor before disappearing to find someone a bit less pathetic, Kyumi stayed there, hovering beside him, and watching his every move. They talked for a while, kissed from time to time, and couldn't keep their hands off each other despite Atsumu's condition. And that felt weird. It felt too intimate. It felt wrong. Fooling around with Kyumi was one thing. Talking to him, listening to him how trapped he was in his own life, was a mistake. Particularly when Kyumi was staying attentively by his bedside, when Atsumu was fucking wrapped in his strong arms, making sure the latter didn't get worse. It's even more dangerous than when they'd lie in bed naked, talking until one of them, mostly Kyumi, finally decided it was time to get dressed and leave. Those conversations had become increasingly intimate, but somehow this felt riskier. After all, Kyumi is nobody Atsumu should ever get involved with. After all, Kyumi is the one Atsumu will have to fight sooner or later if he doesn't find a way to avoid him without putting his and his brother's life at risk. Because the contract to kill Komori is still on. And Atsumu knows Kyumi belongs to Yakuza. He knows he shouldn't care about their lives, that these people have never meant anything good. But for some reason, Atsumu does care about him. For some reason, Kyumi wouldn't vanish out of his mind. And why? Because they are too close. The sex gave them a reason to be together, but they talked, and in the end, they'll soften Atsumu out of completing this stupid mission. Atsumu scrubs a hand over his face. This is getting out of control. He needs to focus on rescuing Osamu and then they part ways anyway. Because Atsumu and his brother would return to Inarizaki until they would eventually move to Osaka and Kyumi would return to Sendai and wait until his cousin wakes up from his coma. They wouldn't have time to see each other again. Nor should they. Which is weirdly disappointing. Atsumu likes the sex with Kyumi. Much as he's loath to admit it, he likes Kyumi. Which he shouldn't. But he does. Oh boy, just how much he does. And oh god, this isn't good. Why the hell does Atsumu have to fall for him of all people? What the fuck was he thinking? Nothing, apparently, because Atsumu is a stupid, ignorant, selfish jerk. Next stop, Jizenji main station. The announcement shakes Atsumu out of his thoughts and his gaze snaps up. He takes a deep breath. He has to put all this behind him. Kyumi will probably join him in the next few days to help him rescue his brother and then they will part ways. He will never find out about Atsumu's fault for Komori's situation. And Atsumu will stay out of his way until his feelings toward him subside. Then he can finish this stupid mission. It takes them exactly 3 days to save Osamu. You look like shit. Suna greets on the first day. So do you, asshole. Yeah, Atsumu didn't miss Suna at all. They hug nonetheless when Atsumu reaches him and his scent triggers something soothing within Atsumu. Something grounding. Something secure. Maybe he did miss him after all. When was the last time you slept? Atsumu asks as he breaks away from the embrace. Suna shrugs. When did we call? Yesterday, you moron. Then sometime the day before. Atsumu huffs a laugh and tries to flick against Rin's forehead, but Rin is faster and slaps his hand away. Yeah, crazy, you know that? Suna frowns. Whatever. Atsumu turns around and watches the property a few meters away from them. He instantly sees what Suna was talking about. The countless guards, surveillance systems all over the place, the sweet silence revealing how dangerous it's actually going to be in there. What's not visible to normal people is obvious to Suna and Atsumu. They settle into a more comfortable stance, leaning against some trees in a secluded forest and watching the mansion from a safe distance. Suna crosses his arms, his gaze distant as he surveys their surroundings. I've been keeping an eye on them like you said, he finally admits, his tone somber. Was lucky when I caught a glimpse of Samu. They've been keeping him hidden somewhere inside that fucking house. Atsumu nods and frowns, side-eyeing Rin from where he stands. He doesn't need to voice his feelings, Suna can read them in his eyes. He appreciates Rin's dedication to this mission, his willingness to watch over Osamu when Atsumu couldn't be there himself. Limited sight, though, Suna continues his voice quieter. They've got that mansion under tight security, and they are not taking any chances. They are on high alert and I feel like they are aware of some sort of upcoming threat. Suna's eyes shift to Atsumu, his gaze sharp and calculating. There's no trace of Terashima, though. Yeah, Atsumu mutters in agreement, his fingers drumming lightly against the sheath of Osamu's knife. I already figured that bastard wouldn't be here. Probably holed up somewhere in Fukuoka Prefecture, scheming away. The mention of Terashima ignites a fire within him, a burning determination to bring him down once they have Osamu back. Atsumu's thoughts churn as he ponders their next move. He knows they can't afford to underestimate Terashima's cunning and the resources at his disposal. As much as Atsumu wants to confront him directly and settle the score, their priority is getting Osamu out safely. We'll take care of him once we have Samu back. Suna hums in agreement. His gaze then falls on Atsumu's hand, wrapped in a new bandage. What happened there? Atsumu raises both eyebrows and looks questioningly at Suna. The latter just nods at it. Oh, nothing, really. But Suna doesn't believe his shit. Atsumu clicks his tongue and frowns a little unnerved. I may have underestimated someone, alright. Suna quirks an eyebrow, his lips curling into a lopsided smirk. You have a real talent for attracting trouble, don't you? His lips curve into a wry smile. Poor baby, does it still hurt? Ha ha. Please don't be so compassionate, Sunarin. I care about you. Suna exclaims dramatically, and if it didn't amuse Atsumu so much, he'd probably punch him in the face. Instead, he rolls his eyes, the corners of his mouth twitching despite himself. Don't act like you're not enjoying this, Rin. Suna's chuckle is laced with amusement as he turns to meet Atsumu's gaze. Oh, I would have definitely enjoyed watching you squirm. Too bad I wasn't there. Atsumu huffs, feigning annoyance even as a hint of a smile plays on his lips. You're an ass, Rin. Suna smirks. Just doing my part to keep you on your toes, Atsumu. His voice holds a hint of teasing, his smirk widening. Atsumu's lips curl into a playful grin. Well, I appreciate your dedication to my constant suffering. Suna's eyes fall shut as he chuckles. Anything for my little drama queen. Atsumu shakes his head. Exasperation and fondness are swirling in his eyes. Their playful banter serves as a brief respite from the weight of their mission, a reminder of this natural closeness that has always defined their friendship. Atsumu knows Suna's probing questions and teasing comments are his way of checking in, of making sure that Atsumu's okay. He appreciates the unspoken concern that underlies their interactions, and he can't deny he's missed the ease with which he and Suna can trade jabs and lighten the weight of their burdens, even if only for a moment. Suna has always been special to Atsumu, the best friend he could ever wish for. Just as Atsumu is about to settle into a more relaxed rhythm of conversation, Suna's tone shifts, and a sly grin curves his lips. So, where's your lover boy, anyway? Atsumu's head snaps toward Rin and he chokes on his own breath, caught off guard by the sudden change in topic. His cheeks heat up, and he curses inwardly for his embarrassment to be so obvious. Suna's teasing glint in his eyes only adds to Atsumu's discomfort. He's not, he begins, his voice a touch too defensive. Oh my god, shut up. What? Don't call him that, Atsumu hisses, his cheeks flush deep red. Suna's laughter is a rich melody, filling the air around them. He raises an eyebrow, a knowing smile playing on his lips. Oh, come on, Atsumu. It's not like I'm wrong. Atsumu clenches his jaw, annoyance and unease swirling within him. The truth is, he's been grappling with his feelings ever since he and SakuAtsu started this thing. Atsumu has no idea when exactly they came up. Maybe when shit went down when they fought Yako. Maybe ever since they were in Inarizaki. Or maybe it was when Atsumu realized how pissed off he gets every time Kayumi even mentions the name of a Shijima when he shouldn't care about any of this at all. Or even better, when it should actually amuse him. Atsumu doesn't know when the hell these dumb feelings started, but now they are here and Atsumu wishes they were not. It wouldn't make all this shit so damn complicated. Like a complex mess of emotions that he can't easily untangle. But he's not about to spill his guts to Suna yet. Not when the topic itself is enough to make his heart race. Not when he knows how much Suna actually loathes him for getting involved with Yakuza. Not when he is not even aware of his own feelings. Cut the crap, Rin. Atsumu retorts, his tone laced with irritation. Ain't nobody's lover boy. Suna's laughter rings in the air, carefree and genuine. Well, you're really getting worked up about this. Must be serious then. Atsumu's retort is swift, his annoyance evident. You know, for someone who's so observant, you're surprisingly blind when it comes to minding your own business. Suna's smirk remains firmly in place, his gaze dancing with mischief. What, so it's true then? Something's still brewing between you two? Atsumu's lips purse, his irritation growing. Suna always had a knack for poking at his vulnerabilities, for exposing the parts of him he'd rather keep hidden. He takes a deep breath, attempting to rein in his frustration. It's stupid, alright. Atsumu finally admits, his voice softer. And it's none of your damn business. Suna's smirk softens into a more understanding expression. Fair enough. They lapse into a comfortable silence, both lost in their own thoughts as they continue to watch the mansion from their vantage point. The tension between them eases, replaced by a quiet understanding that has always been the foundation of their friendship. So, Suna offers, his voice gentle. What happened? Atsumu glances at him, his guard momentarily lowered. He breathes a heavy sigh, his brow is furrowed when he stares at his best friend. Atsumu doesn't really know how to address the jumble of emotions that SakuAtsu has stirred within him. He doesn't really know how Suna's going to react. Or actually, he knows, and he won't like it at all. You'll be fine, murmurs Kayumi, but Atsumu isn't so sure about that. You remember the last mission that Samu and I took on alone? The one where he went missing? Suna matches Atsumu's look. Confusion is evident in his gaze. Yeah, of course. The guy's name was Komori, right? Suna's eyes narrow, his expression darkening when he asks why. Atsumu's lips curve into a wry smile, a mix of bitterness and resignation. He sighs and lets his head fall back against the bark of the tree, running a hand through his hair. Well, looks like this whole thing is even more fucked up than we ever expected. You'll be fine, murmurs Kayumi, but what about him? The night remained calm, with a hushed serenity enveloping the surroundings. Atsumu and Suna maintained their vigilant watch, their minds focused on the mansion that stood before them while they are hidden in the woods. During all the time Suna and Atsumu took turns to keep watch, but neither saw Osamu again. They must be hiding him somewhere inside. On the second day, the quiet is broken by the sound of approaching footsteps, drawing their attention to the figures gradually coming into view. Atsumu's sharp ears pick up on the sound first, and he tenses momentarily before recognizing the familiar voices. Suna's eyes snap open and Atsumu knows he's on alert, even if his posture doesn't give it away. Turning his gaze toward the direction of the approaching figures, his lips curl into a smirk as Oikawa, Iwaizumi, and Bakuto come into view, clad in combat gear rather than their usual suits. A wry smile tugs at Atsumu's lips. Well, ain't this a surprise, he quips, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Look at you three, all dressed up for me, huh? Didn't know we were attending a party. Oikawa's grin remains unabashed, meeting Atsumu's snark with his own. Atsu-chan, you know we're always up for a good time, he responds, his tone light-hearted. He exchanges a knowing glance with Iwaizumi, standing next to him with a more stoic expression, a little more reserved. Atsumu, and Suna, I assume? Suna's skepticism is palpable, his gaze alternating between the newcomers. He offers nothing more than a nod in acknowledgement, his arms crossed, and his brows pinched together, a silent indication of his uncertainty. Iwaizumi's gaze shifts between Inarizuki's assassins, his expression thoughtful. We heard you could use some backup. Figured we'd come prepared. 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅 barges in, throwing an arm around Iwaizumi's shoulder, his excitement uncontainable. Yeah. We're like the backup squad, ready to swoop in and save the day. Atsumu laughs at that, recognizing that very familiar bag on 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅's back. Atsumu nods at it and raises an eyebrow. Is that what I think it is, Bokken? And 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅's eyes light up with a mixture of pride and excitement as he pats it, clearly itching to show off his beloved gear. He grins broadly at Atsumu's question. Oh, you bet it is. With a flourish, he unzips the bag to reveal the sleek, gleaming form of his light machine gun nestled inside. Atsumu's eyebrows rise, his lips quirking into a grin as he regards the weapon. Fancy seeing you with that thing again. You know what's the best part? 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅 wiggles his eyebrows and Atsumu stifles a grin. No rules. What do you mean no rules? Of course, there are rules. Ikuo snaps, and 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅 winces. I just mean I can finally really use my baby. What? You're still carrying around that oversized toy of yours? Someone else teases, his tone dripping with playful mockery. The forest is suddenly filled with the sound of rustling leaves and snapping twigs. A figure emerges out of the shadows, moving with the grace of a seasoned predator. Clad in dark combat gear, a man with weird hair strides forward, a sly grin curving his lips as he approaches 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅. Despite the black hair, it reminds Atsumu of a rooster head, naturally messy and spiky. 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅's face lights up with a grin. He flexes his biceps theatrically. Hey, hey, hey. Now look at who we have here. Eh? Missed my charming face? The man asks. 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅 snorts. Not your face but maybe your ass. Ayo, you worked out? He eyes him up and down, literally checks him out, and Atsumu considers for a moment if 𝒑𝒂𝒄𝒆𝒅 is planning to cheat on Akashi, but there's no way he'd ever do that, right? The two of them appear ready to fall into some kind of banter when Ikuo interjects, introducing the stranger with a sweeping gesture. Atsu-chan, this is Ǩiru Tsuchiro, the Q-Micho announces, smiling. He's an informant I'm having in Tokyo. Ǩiru smirks and takes a step toward Atsumu, extending a hand in greeting. And you must be Mia Atsumu. I've heard quite a bit about you. Atsumu stares at Ǩiru with a raised eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. Is that so? He asks, then his gaze shifts to Ikuo, who's whistling innocently and avoiding Atsumu's gaze. Of course, this idiot couldn't keep his fucking mouth shut. He refuses to shake his hand, so Ǩiru awkwardly drops his own. Oh, it is. Ǩiru's smirk deepens, his grin taking on a sly edge. Listen, kid, I've got some personal issues with Daisho and his Yakuza, so I'm more than willing to help out here. Ah, yes. I guess this is where I need to explain some stuff. Ikuo adds further context. Ǩiru got here with his team. We're called Nakoma. The rooster head jumps in with a mischievous glint in his eyes. I'm bringing you as many hitmen as your heart desires. Actually, I don't crave any at all, Atsumu replies, and he doesn't quite understand what the hell is going on. Suna's skepticism remains veiled beneath his silence, his eyes narrowing slightly as he continues to observe all the stranger men. He isn't quick to trust, especially when it involves those with Yakuza connections. The alliance between the two groups might seem genuine, but Suna isn't one to let his guard down easily. Atsumu knows how thrilled Suna was about the idea of Ikuo helping them out. That is, not at all. So, the fact that he doesn't trust any of them isn't really surprising. Atsumu watches Ikuo with a questioning look, the pieces of this puzzling alliance not yet fitting together in his mind. Why involve even more people? Why involve someone that's not even part of his team? Even Atsumu gets suspicious. Ikuo, perceptive as always, senses his unspoken inquiry and takes a moment to explain further. The reason I asked for Kiru's help, he begins, is because if either Iwa-chan or I were directly involved in this, the chances of sparking a war between Daisho and me are quite high. So, I thought it would be best to bring in someone like Kiru, whose group doesn't belong to any kind of Yakuza to, you know, minimize that risk. That doesn't make sense, Atsumu says and furrows his brow. Suna's gaze remains on Ikuo, his skepticism simmering beneath the surface, but he doesn't voice his concerns. Ikuo's eyes shift to Atsumu, and he gestures subtly for him to step aside for a private chat. Suna's gaze silently snaps to Atsumu too, and for a split second, Atsumu catches it. Reluctantly, he complies, though, moving a few steps away from the group, the questioning expression still etched on his face. Out of earshot, Atsumu turns to Ikuo, but he feels Suna's gaze piercing his back. He knows exactly how he's sharpening his senses so he can eavesdrop on them. He wants to know what's going on. How much does he know? Atsumu asks, referring to Kiru. Only that your brother is being held captive by Terashima. You told him he's my brother. Atsumu hisses. Ikuo flails his arms. Well, what am I supposed to tell him when I say we're searching for someone who looks just like you? Atsumu grits his teeth, realizing the point but is still uncomfortable with the sensitive information Ikuo has shared. His annoyance simmers beneath the surface as he watches Bakuto and Kirui engage in their friendly banter, a stark contrast to the grim situation they face. And what's the truth about sending Kirui for help? I've already told you, Atsu-chan. You not fighting doesn't make sense. Carver. Bokken's here too. It's different for Bakuto and Sakusa. Atsumu flinches for a split second at the mention of Kayumi's name, barely recognizable, but he does. No one manages to throw him off, but Kayumi does it over and over again. Will he come, too? Will he help Atsumu rescue Osamu? Would that really be such a good idea? You'll be fine, murmurs Kayumi. He ignores the pounding of his heart and swallows the dryness in his throat. This isn't about Kayumi or about himself or about whatever the fuck he's feeling right now. Atsumu refocuses on coaxing the truth out of Ikuo. How is it any different? He frowns. They belong to you. Ikuo sighs, his gaze shifting to where Bakuto and Kirui are now laughing together. He braces his hands on his hips and fixes his gaze back on Atsumu's, where hazel brown meets honey gold. Ikuo's voice drops to a hushed tone. He knows just as well that Suna is listening in. Bakuto has been feeding me information about Osamu for a while now, Ikuo admits. Atsumu's gaze narrows as he tries to decipher Ikuo's words. What do you mean? I assigned him to find out about what happened back then in Seijo, and he enlisted Kirui's help. Ikuo takes a deep breath. They connected the dots. It led them to Osamu, and they reported Ashijima had something to do with this. Then, he raises an eyebrow. Kirui suspected Daisho or Terashima might be involved with this too, and now look where we are. And Atsumu realizes one thing. You need Bakuto in there. Could be my chance to get Seijo back. He'll stick out. Atsumu frowns harder. Word's gonna spread he's one of Ye's. Kirui will make sure that doesn't happen. How? Ikuo chuckles. He has his ways. Atsumu's skepticism remains chiseled on his face. He averts his gaze from Ikuo and stares at a spot on the ground between them, slowly understanding a bit more of what's going on. So, Bakuto knew who I was all along? Ikuo nods, his expression serious. Yes. Not just Bakuto. Atsumu's gaze snaps back up at that. Ikuo continues. Hinata was the one who found you back when you were shot by Kiyo-chan, and he called Akashi to fix you up as best as he could before he had to rush off to help Sakusa and Komori. You're shitting me. Atsumu scrubs a hand over his face. He pales as the words sink in. It's all coming together now, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. Him being patched up when he woke up. Him feeling eyes on himself that must have belonged to Hinata. He didn't bleed to death because Akashi had saved him. Again. They were in fucking Seijo. Why did Atsumu never connect the dots? Ikuo offers a sympathetic smile. Sometimes, we're too close to a situation to see the bigger picture, he murmurs, then turns away from Atsumu. Kirui doesn't necessarily need Bakuto's help, and I probably would have gotten everything I needed to know from Tetsu-chan too, but Bakuto wanted to be here, he says. He insisted on being here for this mission because he cares about you. Atsumu's gaze snaps back to the group, where Bakuto and Kirui are still engaged in their lively banter. His heart beats a little faster at the thought of Bakuto being here, driven not only by the mission but perhaps by something more personal. Yet none of them were supposed to get so involved with Atsumu. What would be the point? What good would it do them to get along with Atsumu if they could never become friends? Atsumu will disappear as soon as he gets his brother, and he doesn't plan to come back. Ever. He can't. And if Bakuto has been involved in all this since the beginning, he should know that. So why? Kayumi's coming too? Atsumu asks and the words are out before he can stop himself. His voice is barely a whisper. Kayumi shouldn't be here. Ikuo chuckles softly. Oh, he insisted. Mischief is dancing in his eyes. He grins a little too wide, making Atsumu want to punch him in his flawless face. If Suna were standing here instead of him, he'd probably do exactly that. I bet he couldn't bear the thought of you getting into trouble without him. Alright, shut up. A flush of warmth floods Atsumu's cheeks, and he's momentarily taken aback by the unexpected surge of emotion. He pinches his eyebrows together and closes his eyes. He tries to calm his heart but his thoughts of Kayumi won't let him. Every word, every touch, every kiss. Atsumu is too deep in. This wasn't the plan. When is he coming? Atsumu asks, avoiding Ikuo's knowing gaze. He was supposed to meet Ashijima and will be there on time when you start. Atsumu releases a deep breath. Then, he nods, mumbling a small okay. Ikuo pats his shoulder, leaning in slightly to whisper in his ear so the words are only for him to hear. I hope you don't forget that he's part of my Yakuza, Atsu-chan. And then for a moment, Atsumu freezes because this is a fucking warning. He frowns and stares at Ikuo, their faces close. Both look equally skeptical. I don't tell my people whom they should or shouldn't get involved with, but know that I will always be on their side. Atsumu gets it now. How could I ever forget that? He answers. On day 3, they strike. They have devised a plan to swoop in and eliminate everyone involved without suffering any damage themselves. Kiru's gang has done an outrageously great job in that regard. Mostly thanks to their brain. Kenma, if Atsumu remembers correctly, the plan is to split into teams of 2 and break in. Nakoma has this under control. There are enough people holding down the fort from the outside and enough who will help Atsumu and Suna break Osamu free. Inarizuki's assassins have also decided to split up so that it's none of those bastards who finds Osamu. It's either you or me. And well, Atsumu admits, Suna is kind of right. As Ikuo predicted, Kyumi shows up just before they start, his appearance just like it was back in Inarizuki. This time, he doesn't have his sniper rifle with him, though. Atsumu's gaze flits nervously through the woods, finally settling on Kyumi. Their eyes meet, and for a split second, Atsumu flinches. There's something in Kyumi's gaze that he can't quite place. A flicker of something, a mixture of emotions that leaves Atsumu feeling exposed. The truth is, Atsumu can't deny the longing that still simmers within him, despite all attempts to suppress it. He knows he should focus on the mission, on the dangerous task at hand, but every stolen glance at Kyumi reignites the flame of want that has never truly gone out. His heart aches with a desire for someone he can't have. It's been there ever since they parted ways that night in Tokyo, maybe even before. A lingering weight that refuses to fade. Atsumu knows he shouldn't be feeling this way. He should be focused on the mission, on rescuing Osamu, and not letting his thoughts drift to Kyumi. But it's not that easy. Atsumu can't help but observe Kyumi, who seems to be trapped in his own head. He's giving him the cold shoulder, maintaining a distance that stings more than Atsumu would like to admit. It's as if Kyumi is trying to keep up the act that they're not a thing, that their relationship is purely professional. Which, in theory, it should be. They're not a thing. Atsumu knows that. But every time he looks at Kyumi, his resolve wavers. He can't help but remember the warmth of Kyumi's body pressed against his, the way Kyumi's lips felt against his own, and the whispered promises of a future they both knew might never come to pass. You'll be fine. For now, they relies on a dangerous mission, and Atsumu can't afford to let his emotions get the better of him. He turns his attention back to the planning session, forcing himself to push aside his twisted thoughts and emotions that threaten to overwhelm him. The air is abuzz with hushed conversations and strategizing voices as the teams finalize their plans. Suna, too, maintains a steely focus, his analytical mind absorbing every detail of the operation. He's a silent force, a sentinel who watches over Atsumu's shoulder, and Atsumu can't help but feel grateful for his unwavering support. And then it begins. Bakuto and Kiru go for the main entrance, Suna and Kenma try the roof, and Atsumu and Kyumi break in through one of the side entrances. Atsumu and Kyumi had taken down the guards with remarkable precision, leaving no room for any alarms to be raised. Their fighting skills, honed through years of training, had enabled them to incapacitate their opponents efficiently. As they enter the mansion, a shiver runs down Atsumu's spine. He is closer to Osamu than he has been in a long time. Hey! Someone shouts and Atsumu can't help grinning slightly when he hears Bakuto's machine gun blasting off bullets in the distance. There are more of them. This whole thing would probably be more fun for Atsumu if the situation wasn't so fucking serious. Because this is about his brother and he is fighting side by side with the man for whom he somehow caught feelings, but whom he will surely have to leave. Maybe that's why Kyumi is so quiet. Does he sense it? Atsumu tries to push away his thoughts. They fight their way forward to be able to search for Osamu in the West Wing, just like Kenma planned. It's a piece of cake, really. Two of the strongest assassins Japan has ever seen take down one opponent after the next. As if it was nothing for them. After defeating the last of their adversaries, Atsumu glances briefly in Kyumi's direction. You've recovered well, haven't you? Kyumi asks and it is the first few words Atsumu hears from him today. He doesn't look at him. He sounds completely absent too. Yeah, Atsumu answers hesitantly and everything feels so strange. With swift, silent movements, they slip through the mansion's corridors, their senses alert for any signs of danger, silence washing over them once again. They stop in front of a large door at the end of the corridor. They hear faint voices coming from inside. Atsumu's gaze flits to Kyumi and the latter catches it, sharing a silent glance, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Atsumu takes a deep breath and puts his hand on the doorknob, pushing the door open. They move stealthily through the dimly lit corridors of what appears to be a grand library, a battleground of knowledge turned into a battleground of life and death. The room is vast, with towering shelves of books, dusty and ancient, casting long shadows that seem to reach out for them like spectral arms. They move with practiced precision, navigating through the maze of bookshelves and hidden passages. The air is thick with tension, and their senses are on high alert, every nerve on edge as they approach the next confrontation. Rounding a corner, they come face to face with a group of assailants, their expressions masked and their intent clear. Atsumu and Kyumi share a silent, knowing glance, a wordless acknowledgement of the perilous situation they find themselves in. The battle begins in a flurry of movement, a dance of blades and bullets in the confined space of the library. Atsumu wields Osamu's knife with practiced skill, his movements fluid and precise as he parries attacks and launches counter-strikes. Kyumi, on the other hand, brandishes his gun with deadly accuracy, each shot finding its mark with chilling efficiency. He moves with lethal grace, his eyes cold and calculating as he eliminates their enemies one by one. The fight rages on, the library echoing with the sounds of combat, the scent of blood and gunpowder hanging in the air. Atsumu and Kyumi fight back to back, a silent partnership born of necessity, their movements synchronized as they fend off their attackers. You'll be fine. But just when it seems they might gain the upper hand, a new opponent emerges, swift and silent. Atsumu barely has time to react as a shadowy figure lunges at him, a blade glinting in the dim light. Watch out. Kyumi's instincts kick in, his grip tightening around Atsumu's neck as he shoves him to the side with a force that nearly suffocates him. Atsumu stumbles, gasping for air, his vision swimming as he struggles to regain his bearings. In that split second, Kyumi whirls around, his hand finding a concealed dagger hidden within his coat. With a fluid, deadly motion, he hurls the blade through the air, and it finds its mark with chilling precision, piercing the throat of the opponent who had threatened Atsumu. The enemy falls to the ground, clutching at the weapon embedded in his neck. Kyumi's grip remains tight around Atsumu's throat, but his attention is wholly focused on the fallen foe. For a heartbeat, time seems to stand still, and the library falls into a heavy silence, broken only by the dying gasps of their opponents. Atsumu's heart pounds in his chest, the realization of how close he had come to death settling over him like a shroud. And then Kyumi's grip tightens around Atsumu's neck, his fingers digging into his flesh. Atsumu's breath catches in his throat, the pressure constricting his airway and nearly suffocating him. Their eyes lock, and everything Atsumu can see is betrayal burning in Kyumi's gaze, cutting deeper than the sharpest blade, and leaving a bitter taste in his mouth. He was supposed to meet a Shijima and will be there on time when you start. Atsumu seizes Kyumi's arm with both hands, trying to pull him away, but he doesn't move an inch. No, instead he remains just like that, not giving Atsumu a chance to break free. Omi, he croaks, tears prickling in his eyes, his brows knitted together. Oh, this is bad. It hurts and it burns, and it clouds his mind almost worse than Tendo's poison ever could. Atsumu would only last seconds if Kyumi kept this up. In no time at all, he would choke Atsumu to death if he didn't let go soon, would make him faint if he kept that grip so tight. The reason you're losing your sanity over Kyo-chan finding out is none other than a Shiwaka. And then Atsumu wonders how he could have been so stupid. How he didn't notice. How he could have been so blind. His eyes widen, his face grows pale. This is so fucking bad. Kyumi zoning out, giving Atsumu the cold shoulder. Kyumi, absorbed in his thoughts, and not paying the slightest bit of attention. Atsumu's heart slips into the pit of his stomach, realizing how much he fucked up. With a sudden burst of strength and desperation, Atsumu's leg shoots out, connecting with Kyumi's stomach. The impact breaks his hold on Atsumu, making the latter stumble back against the wall and gasp for air as he rubs his throat. Fuck. Atsumu coughs, dizziness returning to his head, his eyes red-rimmed from where tears nearly dared to spill. He hunches over and props his arms over his knees, trying to get his body back under control and regulate his breathing. His chest heaves and sags heavily, each breath seems too painful. He knows. Slowly, Atsumu's gaze moves up to meet Kyumi's darkened eyes. His whole body trembles, his knees feel too weak to carry him any further and his stomach coils so much, throwing the nausea right back to him. A Shijima must have told him. He knows. Atsumu gulps and stares, silence falling over them. Kyumi's chest heaves as he turns to face him, his expression holding a tumultuous blend of emotions. There's anger and hurt in his eyes, a reflection of the trust that has been given and shattered. Unspoken words linger between them, the charged silence driving them to the brink. Atsumu wants to say so much. He has so much to explain, has so much on his mind, but he can't bring a single word past his lips that could come close to minimizing the damage. He knows it's not possible. He knows where this is going to end. Kyumi, Atsumu says then, his voice hoarse. I can't believe I was so blind. What did he heaves a loaded breath. His limbs are shaking. What did a Shijima tell you? And he fears the worst. Because a Shijima won't have spoken well of him. Atsumu knows he used this mission against him, that he must have sweet-talked Kyumi in such a way that it didn't matter whether all this was a Shijima's fault in the first place or not, and it makes Atsumu sick. Because it doesn't matter what he says right now. Kyumi won't believe him. He scoffs and everything in Atsumu churns. He feels all the hatred Kyumi has for him, the anger and disappointment, the frustration at having trusted him, the regret at having shown himself so vulnerable to the blonde. All this time you were so angry about how a Shijima was using me, yet you aren't any better. No. Atsumu shakes his head. Did you have fun? Kyumi's lips curl into a bitter sneer, his eyes narrowing. Atsumu's throat feels so tight. Did you enjoy wrapping me around your finger like a stupid idiot so you could get to Komori? I didn't. Atsumu's voice breaks. The words remain stuck in his throat. He takes a deep breath, but his voice comes still shaky. I never used ya, Omi. Please, you have to believe me. But Kyumi doesn't. Not anymore. Right, he huffs. I have to believe you. His voice drips with venom as he steps closer, the space between them shrinking once again. You're still fooling me, huh? Atsumu's heart pounds in his chest, each beat echoing the ache that pulses through him. His own body trembles, but it's not from the physical strain of the fight, it's the weight of Kyumi's accusations, the pain of his shattered trust, of something that Atsumu is about to lose. His eyes widen when Kyumi lunges forward, his fist aimed at Atsumu's face. His reflexes kick in, his body moving on sheer instinct, and Atsumu ducks to the side just in time, only narrowly avoiding the punch that would have struck his jaw. Kyumi's fist sails past him, the rush of air brushing against his skin, and Atsumu's heart races. He doesn't want to fight Kyumi. Fuck. He can't fight Kyumi. Omi, please. Honestly, he doesn't even know what exactly he's pleading for. Even if Kyumi listens to him and Atsumu manages to convince him he didn't use him to kill Komori, even if he manages to convince him that everything between them was real, that Kyumi matters to him, even if he believes him, it wouldn't change a single thing about their situation. Because the contract is still on. And Atsumu has no clue how to fix this. It's your head or mine. There's no way to get out of this. He can feel the anger radiating off Kyumi, the fury that has built up from all the truths that have never been told. Atsumu wants to make Kyumi understand, to make him see that he was never using him, that he never ever wanted this outcome. But the words seem trapped in his throat, choked by guilt and panic raging within Atsumu. Without another word, Kyumi shifts his stance, his movements fluid and controlled as he readies himself for another strike. Atsumu's eyes widen and flicker with fear, everything aches, and he'd prefer to just give up and let himself get beaten up the way he deserves it, but he needs to explain, needs to tell him that all of this meant something to him, that Kyumi means something to him, that he wasn't a fool. But now Kyumi is hurt and it's Atsumu's fault and he doesn't know how to fix this. I'm sorry, are the only words coming out of Atsumu's foul mouth, and he's pinching his eyebrows together because he has no fucking clue what to say when nothing that's coming up in his stupid brain would be anywhere close to being helpful. And it doesn't help. Not at all. Because now Kyumi is clenching his jaw and he's moving again and his fist is aimed at Atsumu's gut, and for a fucking second, Atsumu contemplates just letting Kyumi win. For a stupid second, Atsumu considers whether he should do SakuAtsu the favor and grant him to take out his frustration on Atsumu because he'd have every damn right to do so. But that would mean that his accusations are right and they're not. That would mean their shared time was nothing special, but it was. That would mean Atsumu never felt anything for Kyumi, but he did. Shit, he really did. Atsumu sidesteps the punch, his body swaying gracefully out of the way. He seizes the opportunity and extends his leg, aiming a swift and controlled kick toward Kyumi's side. The impact isn't meant to injure, but to create distance, to show that he won't be pushed around. He doesn't want to fight him, he thinks. At this point, he never could. Especially not like this, not when they are both so hurt and broken. Kyumi reacts quickly, twisting his body to avoid the kick, but still, Atsumu manages to create some space between them. They are both aware that they are not just fighting with their fists, but with the weight of their emotions and the history that binds them. Atsumu's mind races, searching for a way to end this, to break through the barriers that have risen between them, but he seems to fail because he has no idea how to fucking fix this. I'm just glad you're here, alive. And then Atsumu closes his eyes and chokes down the pain with each heavy breath he takes. His hands are clenched into fists. His heart swells in his chest. This has to stop. I never meant to hurt you. Atsumu's voice trembles as he speaks, desperation lacing his words. It's almost a whisper that he chokes out, yet his words are raw, resembling a confession that carries the weight of his regret. He never wanted that. Shooting Komori. Developing feelings. Losing Osamu. None of this should have ever happened. His vision is blurred as he opens his eyes, avoiding Kyumi's gaze and staring at the floor between them. He clenches his jaw and swallows hard as his emotions eat him up. Longing mingles with hesitation. Desire entangles with guilt. They are two souls entwined in a web of contradictions, their hearts aching and yearning to break free from the chains of their circumstances. But it's not that easy. And shit does it hurt. Were you ever going to tell me? Atsumu's gaze snaps up and he wishes he hadn't been so obvious. Because when no one can see Kyumi flinch, Atsumu still does, and it was there, even if only for a split second, but it was there. And the disappointment and frustration reflecting in his dark eyes nearly kills Atsumu because fuck. He didn't want this. Honestly. He didn't mean to hurt him. No. Atsumu says quietly, his voice heavy with regret, and Kyumi's expression doesn't even change anymore. It's cold and distant and so fucking disappointed. Atsumu's heart aches at the sight, the weight of it feeling like a physical blow. Then why did you ask me where Motoya is? Kyumi's voice is steady, the question laced with an edge that cuts into Atsumu's conscience. He swallows hard, his throat tight as he tries to find the right words to explain. His voice is still shaky as he responds. To avoid him. To kill him. No. Atsumu shouts and his heart pounds hard. He shakes his head, despair and sincerity resonating in his words. I never wanted things to come to this. I never wanted to fall in low. His voice trembles, his fingers curling into fists at his sides as he fights to make Kyumi understand. Atsumu's head spins, his heart is racing as he fights back tears. He can't deny the truth, but he can't bear the way Kyumi's words tear at him either. It's as if every punch thrown, every bruise sustained, is nothing compared to what the obvious loss of Kyumi's trust inflicts on his soul. And it fucking hurts. Why should I believe you? Because just like Kyumi, Atsumu hardly lets anyone in. Except for him. Without Atsumu realizing it, Kyumi had taken a place in his soul that was bigger than it could ever be for anyone else. Because everything that was between them, everything that still is between them, the kisses, the touches, the sex, it's all real, and it did things to Atsumu that he had never experienced before and will never experience again. Because Kyumi is special and there will be no one else like him. But now he is walking out of Atsumu's life and tearing down everything with him that keeps Atsumu sane. He's about to break him. Just like Atsumu broke him. I would never lie to you. Osamu's knife clatters to the floor. With a sudden surge of determination, Atsumu steps forward, closing the distance between them in an instant. Omi, please. You have to believe me. You mean too much to me. He can't lose him. He can't take losing him. Not Kyumi. Atsumu can't let that happen. He reaches out, his fingers brushing against Kyumi's arm in an attempt to get closer, to bridge the gap that has grown between them. He faces Kyumi with an almost desperate plea in his eyes. His voice quivers when he whispers another Omi, please, and his throat is raw from the struggle for air, his words loaded with desperation. He knows he's running out of time, that Kyumi is slipping further and further away with every passing second. Because Kyumi's eyes widen the moment Atsumu steps closer. His body tenses as Atsumu narrows the gap between them. And then, before Atsumu can even react, he shoves him away with force, the unexpected motion sending Atsumu stumbling backward. His heart races as he fights to regain his balance, his mind too overwhelmed because everything that's coming next happens too fast. Kyumi reaches for his holster, and a cold dread settles in Atsumu's chest as he realizes what he's about to do. Kyumi pulls out his gun, his movements precise and determined, and Atsumu's eyes widen, his heart pounding hard as he feels the barrel of Kyumi's gun pressed against his chest. And then time seems to stand still, the world narrowing down to that single moment, and every thought of Atsumu comes to a halt. He looks up, and he can see it. The fear, the disappointment, confusion, regret, vulnerability, betrayal. It's not only Atsumu who doesn't want to fight Kyumi, but also Kyumi who doesn't want to fight Atsumu. And yet he's so close to solving their problem with a single shot if he would just pull the trigger. But Kyumi's hand trembles, just slightly, and Atsumu realizes this one thing. He's ruined them both. I'm sorry. Atsumu's gaze slips somewhere away from Kyumi's face. He can't look him in the eyes. I should have said something before, or. Kyumi grits his teeth. He's pressing the barrel harder into Atsumu's chest as he snaps. Words don't mean shit now, Atsumu. And Atsumu knows. Nothing can fix this. Atsumu's heart aches at the way Kyumi's voice trembles. He fights back tears, his throat constricting, and a harsh breath leaves him as he realizes just how far gone they are. Kyumi's finger hovers over the trigger, and it's a precarious line they are treading, one step away from ending everything. He never wanted this. Not for himself, and definitely not for Kyumi. I get it, Atsumu chokes out, his voice strained. I get it, Omi. I messed up. I hurt you. I should have trusted you enough to tell you the truth, but I was scared. I didn't want you to be in danger because of me. I didn't want you to think I never felt anything for you. Kyumi's gaze wavers, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I was a damn fool, Atsumu continues, his voice shaking with the weight of his confession. And now I've pushed you away, and it's killing me. I never wanted any of this. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought if I kept you in the dark, I could protect you from the mess I'd gotten myself into. I didn't mean to hurt you. Kyumi's grip on the gun seems to falter. Atsumu knows his knuckles must be turned white from the strain. Confliction swells in his onyx eyes, torn between the anger and hurt he feels and the lingering connection he can't seem to sever. You think saying sorry is enough? Kyumi's voice trembles, his grip on the gun wavering. You think an apology erases everything? And Atsumu's heart clenches, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. He knows. No, it doesn't, he admits, and his voice is breaking. Kyumi's eyes are glistening now, his anger giving way to something deeper, something that Atsumu can't quite place. He is hurt and it is Atsumu's fault. He is disappointed and it is Atsumu's fault. He is broken and it is Atsumu's fault. It's obvious there's only one way out, isn't it? Atsumu can't look him in the eye. His hands rise, almost as if in slow motion. He reaches out, careful not to startle Kyumi, and gently slides his hands over Kyumi's, his fingers wrapping around the barrel of the gun, around Kyumi's gloved hands. He knows there's only one way to end this. Only one way to make things okay. And then, with a determined resolve, Atsumu's grip tightens, and he raises the gun, pointing it at his own forehead. The room falls into a deafening silence, a beat of suspended time, and Kyuumi's eyes widen in fear, his grip on the gun faltering for a split second, shock and confusion overtaking him. What are you? We both know how this works, Atsumu says. This time his voice is firm. His heart is thumping, his stomach twisting into knots. His gaze snaps up and Atsumu has never seen him so distraught. The contract's on. It's your head or mine and there's only one way to end this. As long as I can. Atsumu. I must at least protect those who are dear to me. Atsumu's fingers tighten on the gun, his knuckles turn white. Kyuumi's eyes are wild. He's barely breathing anymore, caught between the past and the present, the pain and the possibility. His grip on the gun weakens further, and Atsumu's heart aches as he sees the internal battle playing out across Kyuumi's face. That includes you too, Omi. You have no idea what you're doing. Kyuumi's voice trembles, fear and disbelief drowning in black void. You're playing with. No. Atsumu cuts in, his voice strong despite the tremor in his soul. I'm not playing with anything. His gaze is unwavering, his voice steady as he speaks, his fingers gently guiding Kyuumi's hand. Let's be honest. You should have hit me back then. His eyes never leave Kyuumi's, his gaze fierce and unyielding. And then, Kyuumi's breath hitches and Atsumu can see he's confirmed something that Kyuumi feared so much. He watches the internal struggle playing out across his face. The gun trembles in Kyuumi's hand, and for a moment, it seems like everything hangs in the balance. It's a daring move, a last desperate attempt to make him understand the depth of his feelings, the sincerity of his regret. Atsumu's fingers tremble around the gun, his voice steady but laced with an underlying plea. He never meant to hurt him. Not Kyuumi. Atsumu should never have survived this mission. They were never meant to be. This has to end. And if he wants to spare Komori in order not to hurt Kyuumi any further, then there is only one way. The tension in the room is suffocating. Every heartbeat echoing between them is a painful reminder of what's at stake. Kyuumi's grip on the gun is almost slack now. His fingers are trembling. All he has to do is pull the trigger. One shot and everything would be over. But Kyuumi's eyes are torn, his inner conflict painted across his face. Atsumu watches, holding his breath, as Kyuumi's gaze shifts from the gun to Atsumu, his expression pained and confused. There's doubt, anger, hurt, and something else, a flicker of what might be understanding, all battle for dominance. Atsumu. Kyuumi's voice cracks, his breath shuddering as he speaks. His hand wavers, the gun trembling on the precipice of a decision. Atsumu's heart races, the gravity of the moment pressing down on him. He stares at Atsumu for a moment longer, his breathing ragged and uneven. Kyuumi takes a deep breath, his fingers twitching around the trigger. Atsumu's heart pounds in his chest, and he's certain that Kyuumi is about to pull it now, to end this agonizing standoff once and for all. The room is heavy with silence, each passing second stretching into an eternity. Atsumu can almost hear the gears turning in Kyuumi's mind, the turmoil within him mirrored in the motion of the weapon in his hand. But then, with a sudden, almost violent exhale, Kyuumi jerks the gun away in a sudden and jarring motion, disengaging from Atsumu's grip. He runs a shaky hand through his hair, his shoulders tensing as he turns around, refusing to face Atsumu any longer. It's a gesture that speaks of defeat, of surrender to all his emotions overtaking him. There is no way to fix this. Atsumu's breath catches in his throat as he watches Kyuumi's back, his heart aching with confusion. He had braced himself for the sound of the gunshot, for the end that he had almost welcomed as a release from the suffocating guilt that clung to him. But now, as Kyuumi turns away, it's as if a different kind of weight has settled on his chest, a weight born from the uncertainty of what comes next. Kyuumi. Kyuumi's voice, when it finally comes, is quiet and shaky, his words filled with exhaustion and vulnerability. When do you finally stop being so reckless? It's a question laden with frustration, with the pain of seeing someone he cared about put himself in harm's way again and again. Atsumu's throat feels tight, he can't bring himself to answer. He wishes he could say something, wishes there was a way to explain the compulsion that has driven him down this dangerous path. But the truth is, he can't. Because it doesn't matter. There should never have been any feelings between them and now it's too late. Kyuumi turns around, and the sight is too painful for Atsumu to bear. His heart aches as he takes in Kyuumi's tear-filled eyes, the bitterness and sadness that taint his gaze. Atsumu wants to reach out, to wipe away those tears, to erase the hurt he's caused. But he knows that some wounds run too deep to be healed with a simple touch. I'd rather have a bullseye on my head than your blood on my hands. Kyuumi's voice trembles as he speaks, his words heavy with a pain that resonates in Atsumu's own heart. The vulnerability in his admission cuts through him like a knife. It's a testament to the depth of Kyuumi's feelings, to the internal turmoil that has torn him apart, the strong emotions that break him. Atsumu's heart aches, a lump forming in his throat. He wants to protest, to tell Kyuumi that he won't let anything happen to him, that he'll protect him at all costs. But Kyuumi's words are a painful reminder of the reality they are faced with, the choices that have led them to this moment. It's your head or mine. Kyuumi's gaze is fixed on him, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Atsumu feels a lump in his throat, his chest tightening with a myriad of unspoken words. But before he can say anything, before he can offer some form of reassurance, Kyumi interrupts him again. Leave, Atsumu. Kyumi's voice is strained. Get your brother and get out of here. The pain in his voice is palpable, a raw wound that has been torn open again and again. I don't want to see you ever again. We can never see each other ever again. Atsumu's heart shatters at the finality in Kyumi's words. It's as if every hope, every chance for redemption, has been snatched away in an instant. He opens his mouth to speak, to plead, to beg for another chance, but Kyumi's gaze is unyielding, his expression chiseled with anguish and resolve. And then, without another word, Kyumi turns and walks away. The room seems to close in on Atsumu, the walls pressing against him from all sides. It's as if the air has been sucked out of the room, leaving him gasping for breath, suffocating in the aftermath of his own mistakes. He is left standing there, watching Kyumi's retreating figure, his vision blurred by tears he's about to shed. Atsumu watches him and his heart shatters with each retreating step. It feels like his world is collapsing, the ground giving way beneath his feet, leaving him in a freefall of regret and despair. Kyumi, Atsumu can't bring himself to say. He wants to call out, to beg Kyumi to reconsider, to give him a chance to make things right, but the words remain lodged in his throat, choked by his own guilt and the realization that he might have shattered the one connection that had come to mean everything to him. He broke him. He broke them both. The silence in the room is deafening as the door clicks shut behind Kyumi. Atsumu is left with the painful truth that he's lost the one person who had managed to touch his soul, the one person who had made him feel alive again, the one person he would admit loving. Atsumu stands there, his heart aching, single tears streaming down his cheeks. He's lost, adrift in a sea of his own making, left to grapple with the consequences of his choices and the shattered pieces of a love that might never be mended. He stands there, left with a hollow ache in his chest that matches the void Kyumi's absence leaves behind. Kyumi, Atsumu thinks and can't bring himself to say, I'm sorry.